Check. Check one. No sound, my patootie. We got lots of sound. We got lots of sound, and we have 19 seconds left. That would be 16, 15. Latency. 10 seconds, I think. There we go. All right, kids, here we go. So it's been a little while since I've done a live stream. Lots of stuff in the way as of late. That's just life. But yeah, so anyway, here we are. YouTube is a funny place, isn't it? A funny place with lots of funny creatures, myself, I suppose, included. I guess the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to thank everybody. I know I don't normally have ums and uhs and mitigating speech in my live streams, but I'm actually pretty flabbergasted and quite flattered. I was actually taking a look at my stats, and I am actually up to 4,365 subscribers, and it keeps going up. So whatever it is that you like about the crap that I am providing, I really appreciate it. And those of you that aren't subscribing, I will shamelessly ask you to subscribe now. So I guess there's something for a bunch of different nerds, I suppose. For those of you that are into television, the history of television, because that's obviously my official day job. I'm a producer of a syndicated television station, or sorry, a producer for a syndicated television show, and I own a production studio and ad agency. Music, of course, for the Prophet 5 and that sort of thing, and of course the voiceover stuff. And of course, I'm sure that there are a sizable amount of you that are here to enjoy the wonderful worldwide visage of simply my dog deciding to take a dump, which I'm sure that there is a sizable amount of people that go on YouTube for that. But pets certainly, of course, live on the internet, and my pets obviously have developed a little bit of a fan following. And it's kind of funny because that leads me a little bit into my theme of, well, nobody knows anything. And this is true in all walks of life. Nobody knows a goddamn thing. And this actually kind of leads me into my little rant. And it's funny because now that we're at close to 5,000 subscribers and hopefully getting more, it's interesting. As you know, I have a TV show, and part of the the duties of having a television show is obviously we have to have advertisers and sponsors. Now, we're very fortunate in that these sponsors and advertisers that we have are really good. And of course, there's also a dark side of having a television show on the air is that you get people that kind of come out of the woodwork that have ideas. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes people write in and have really good ideas. Other times, you get people, particularly in this country, being Canada, where everybody thinks that they're an expert and they know nothing about anything. And certainly this is not unique to any particular country. There's people like that in every country, but I find there seems to be an excessive amount of people that haven't really achieved anything, and yet they want to turn around and gaslight you and act like they're an expert, and just in the face of all other logic. And that sort of attitude seems to flourish in Canada far more than it does in the United States, because I see it. I deal with it to some degree in the US, but I deal with it on a day-to-day basis in Canada. And this kind of revisionism is something that I really don't have a lot of patience for here. And one of the things about the Canadian attitude that pisses me off, and this is speaking as a Canadian, I don't like the attitude here. I don't like the way media people are treated. And frankly, in my opinion, the majority of the networks here, including those I've worked for in the past, have become a bit of a joke. Not for any political reasons, just because the work just isn't good, and it's like high school all over again. And this is one of the things that really ticks me off. And people are blatant about it. I mean, you can sit there and have a book full of facts, and they'll sit there and they'll argue with the Oxford Dictionary, and they'll try really hard to act like they don't hear you, and that they have more authority with their nonsense, and it's unbelievable. And I'll give you an example of this. I had a colleague that was trying to help us get carriage, actually try to help us get a sponsor, and he ended up connecting me to some agency that I've never heard of. Now, every ad agency of any, well, not ad agency, but pretty much every major brand that would be dealing with us on our show, I would have heard of, right? Because I've been doing this a very, very long time. So this lady gets on the phone, and instead of talking about basically what they're going to do for the show and what they were going to do in terms of sponsorship, they proceeded to lecture me as if I was 5 years old, like I didn't know. And it turned into a completely unsolicited critique of basically how we do everything in social media. And what's interesting about this person is she had no qualifications, no background. I don't know, maybe she was fucking somebody with this guy that decided that for some reason a sponsorship meeting was suddenly going to become unsolicited advice from somebody that has no qualifications. But anyway, I was trying to be polite and I didn't want to be judgmental, but she was making it very, very easy. So she basically starts talking to me and patronizing me and going on about stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm trying to do. I did not ask for an unsolicited critique. I have 26 million viewers. I don't want to say I don't care, but if I haven't asked for your advice, I'm doing pretty okay. If I want your advice, I'll ask for it. I'm needing to add sponsors, not basically and I use the term loosely, a competitor. This sounds really arrogant, but just sometimes you kind of have to have a backbone and say, you know what, I know what I'm doing. Don't tell me how to do my job. And by the way, who the hell are you? Anyway, so she's going on, and one of the things that she starts criticizing is our social media, which of course I didn't ask for. Now, I fully admit that I use YouTube both as the company uses YouTube for Skycron. I also like to have this kind of have the CEO type thing going on. And I like to have these live streams. I've been around a long time. I say what I need to say, and I think what I say what I think. And the majority of our clients understand where I'm coming from. And frankly, any of our clients that have actually been watching what I've been saying, generally it's actually helped business rather than hindered it, right? Because I'm not saying anything really offensive. I'm not insulting anybody. I mean, I am insulting people, but I'm insulting the idea of individuals that don't have to do, that don't seem to have any semblance of common sense, which I have very little patience for. And most of the clients that I work with, they get it, and again, we've had the same large Fortune 500 clients for a very, very long time. So my attitude is we have not political views or anything, but we are a very frank, easy to deal with company, and I encourage people to speak their mind within reason. So from my point of view, I think my attitude was, as is everybody, nobody knows when they start what the YouTube algorithm wants. You basically try to find your authentic voice, which is true. That's very good advice. And then you kind of just try and do stuff and see what sticks with keywords and stuff that people are interested in. And over time, creating content, you start to kind of see, oh, there's a spike for this kind of content. There's a spike for that kind of content. In my case, these rants, for some reason, get a decent amount of traction. The other thing that gets a lot of traction is just stuff on what it's like to work in television and how to do certain things in television, because there's an awful lot of people that don't really know. They're not functioning as a producer, and therefore they don't really know what's going on. So I get a lot of people that enjoy watching those videos and the live streams where I talk about it. And there's other times that I do things that are just interesting, that are interesting to me as a person, and I share that. I make it very clear that these are the opinions of me as the CEO, as a person, not reflective of the company, even though I own it. And so that's sort of my position in that regard. But by and large, I've actually found that it's given a voice of authenticity. People know what I'm about. They know what my position is. They know sort of how I feel, and they can kind of get an idea of what it's going to be like to deal with the company. And we actually get a good amount of work that way, which is nice. And most of our clients are repeat, if not the vast majority of them. And one of the things that anybody that knows me knows that I am passionate about. Obviously, I'm passionate about animals, pets. I'm an animal. Humans are animals. We're all animals. We don't like to admit it. And I have a big fuzzy dog. So I have Tilk. He's a giant Alaskan Malamute King Shepherd cross, and he has a lot of personality. So I like posting stuff about him in the personal aspect of my channel and on the Instagram because it's my company and I like my dog, and people like the dog, and he likes the attention. So if you don't like it and you don't want to deal with my company, well, then you don't have to deal with my company. And if you don't like dogs, chances are if you don't like animals, you don't like pets, I'm not going to like you anyway. I grew up with horses. I grew up with German Shepherds and Malamutes, and I have a Siamese cat. So as long as I'm running this company and as long as I own it, you're going to have to deal with videos of my pets because I love my pets. They are family, and that's just the way it is. So this person at this so-called agency that I really don't know what she had to do with whatever it was that this colleague was going to try to connect us to a sponsor, she started going, oh, well, it's kind of unprofessional to have videos of your pets, and it's kind of unprofessional to have videos of your cats, and your YouTube channel is all over the place. It's like, I have a show on the air with 26 million viewers. I have huge Fortune 500 clients, and that content is pretty slick, and it's on television in a very large country, which is the United States, which I don't know if you've noticed, but the United States is kind of the leader in the free world of television. And you, who I have no idea who you are, who I have not asked for your opinion, you're an introduction wild card for a show with numbers that you're trying to get, and you're sitting here giving me advice? Give me a break. Is it unprofessional? Yeah, I suppose it is. But you know what? It's not 1952. It's 2022. And we have all kinds of people that are high up and have successful professional companies that have personal opinions and live stream and have videos and things like that that run in tandem with the companies that they run. Now, say what you want about Elon Musk. I know he's all over the place, and I can understand why people kind of raise question marks. But here's the thing. Like it or not, Tesla's a big company, okay? He's done all right. SpaceX, it's a big company. Financially, he's doing all right. If you take all the extra stuff about whatever his political views are and his, tin foil hat stuff that might be the case to you, might be the case in reality, the bottom line is this is a man that has very successfully built a number of companies, and yet it doesn't seem to, okay, I mean, the SEC stuff that is potentially and may very well be and possibly and probably is illegal, yeah, that's different. That should affect your business. If you're doing illegal crap, then that's not good. But as far as the stuff that he is, all the personal stuff that he says and the trolling he does and that sort of thing, that doesn't seem to have been affecting his business for the most part overall in a negative way. There have been some negative pings here and there, but by and large, it gives him notoriety. It gives you a clear idea of the personality you're dealing with. And frankly, it's given him a lot of publicity because he says what he thinks, and everybody's falling all over themselves to figure out what this guy is going to say next. And regardless of whether you hate the guy and regardless of whether you love the guy, regardless of whether you think he's the greatest genius in the history of the world or whether you think he's the world's biggest crackpot, the bottom line is you're talking about him. And every time you're talking about him, you're thinking about him. And that's associated with his companies, that's associated with his personality, and that's associated with what he does. And if you look at studies, there have been sociological and psychological studies that show and have shown statistically time and time again, it's not necessarily the best person for the job, it's not the worst person for the job that gets the job, it's the person that is the most well known. Now, I would like to be the best person and be the best company for the job. But at the same time, I am also a realist. I'm aware that being visible and having a personality and saying things, the more people know about me, they're probably going to associate that with my company. Now, again, I'm not going to go around and deal with SEC violations, but when you talk about personalities, as long as you're talking about them and as long as somebody has an opinion, positive or negative, or both, as long as you've got a dialogue where people are talking back and forth, you are going to be thinking of that person's business either consciously or subconsciously, and it reflects in their business. And I have actually had people tell me after they've signed a contract with me, you know what, I'll be honest with you, Corey, I've been watching your rants and I either really like them or there are things that I don't agree with, but it's also a talking point. So it also kind of helps you kind of develop a relationship with some of the people that you're doing business with. And dialogue is a good thing. It's good to be able to sit down and have a talking point and back and forth about it. And when I talk about a dialogue, I mean an intelligent conversation. I'm not talking about this social justice warrior shouting everything that you don't like as, you know, racist or evil or basically or sexist or anything that somebody doesn't agree with as a hot button. Now, there is some stuff obviously that is sexist, and there is some stuff that's being said that is racist, and there is some stuff that do justifiably deserve the label that they're getting. But I find that we're living in this kind of mob mentality kind of world now where anybody that does not agree with something and they have an angry mob of people behind them, they can shout it down and they're being hounded off the internet. I'm sorry, but you can have 1 million or 2 million people against one saying that 2 + 2 = 5. 2 + 2 ain't 5. It doesn't work that way. You can't bend the laws of physics because majority rules. They were trying all this stuff hundreds of years ago. I mean, Galileo was Galileo was jailed because he dared say that, the orbit order is a little different in terms of the Earth and the Sun, shall we say. Well, now we know that. But this is effectively what we're doing now. We're, in a sense, saying there's millions of us or however many people that believe that the Earth revolves around the Sun and not the other way around. And because we don't agree with that, we're just going to repeat it louder and louder and louder and louder and louder, and we're going to dox people, and we're going to go after them, and we're going to make their lives a living hell so that they repent and they basically go back to our side. Well, you know what? Your side's wrong. That's the thing about math. Math is absolute. 2 + 2 cannot, will not, ever equal 5. I mean, think about it. If you were in grade 3 and you didn't like the math you didn't like the math mark that you got, you really think that having 35 people in your class banding together, do you think a bunch of freaking 8-year-olds saying, we've decided to have a poll and all 35 of us have agreed that 2 + 2 should equal 5, and therefore you, Mr. Teacher, should conform to this majority rules that 2 + 2 now equals 5? No, he's going to send a lot of you assholes to the office. Yet, we seem to be enabling this kind of behavior now. And again, I find that it's worse in Canada than a lot of other places, because what will happen is you'll say 2 + 2 = 4, and you'll have a number of people with a completely straight face tell you that 2 + 2 in fact equals 5. And you should be sent and have a psychological evaluation. And you can sit there with a book full of all of these pieces of proof, and they'll just sit there and just act like they didn't hear you and they didn't see you. So that you start, the idea is to basically get you to question yourself. The idea is that it's supposed to be so over the top that you get all mixed up, and then they don't have to acknowledge it. And they will go very, very far. I have a colleague, a very dear colleague of mine, and she had a boss. that, was doing some stuff, and, and that boss was doing some pretty illegal stuff, and that person was warned by the authorities to stop. That person did not stop. The authorities warned the person to stop again. The guy didn't take it seriously, and the guy ended up getting in a bunch of legal trouble and acted like a victim. You can get warnings to the repercussions for behavior, and people still will push it. And then when they get jailed or sued or arrested or whatever, then they turn around and go, well, I don't understand. Nobody ever told me. What, except that time before and the time before that and, the dozens of times before that? What, you think that you can just keep acting like an asshole and breaking the law, and that for some reason the laws and the rules don't apply to you? So when somebody turns around and actually applies a legal punishment and you were warned about it by the appropriate authorities, that you should be surprised by this? And this is exactly what's happening. This is exactly what's happening right now, and this is something that I have a problem with. And the reason that this is happening, particularly in Canada, is because people don't seem to know the difference between fact and opinion. And I have ranted about this a number of times, so I think I've made my position clear on that. So if you want to get more of an idea of where my head is on that topic, you can watch any of the rants that I have on that. But in effect, what I have a problem with is the idea that basically people figure that if they are stubborn enough and misbehave enough, and the behavior is so egregious, that they're betting on that nobody will believe that they're actually behaving that badly, and therefore people will just let it go and not fight back and figure they can't do anything about it. And then what happens, that when there's the one person that will turn around and say, hey, you know what, I'm not going to put up with this crap, somebody with a personality like mine, then I am the one that gets the full brunt of it, and I have to basically serve the function of every single person that never stood up to this person and said, hey, you can't bully somebody. Now, I don't have a problem with this, but it does get tiring. And the reason is because people that misbehave, particularly in this country, have the ability to most people will just let it go. They're betting on the fact that you will let it go, and that you will let it go, and you will let it go. Oh, you cut ahead of somebody in line, they won't say anything. And then sometimes, if somebody cuts in front of you in line and you say something about it, you'll have two or three other people, when you tell the person that cut in front of you in line and them in line, they'll actually sit there and they will defend the person that cut in line ahead of you and them, simply because it's easier for them to blame the person that is the perpetrator than it is to deal with the uncomfortable social position, which is to put your foot down and do the right thing. If you see somebody beating the shit out of some kid on the street, and you help that person because there's nobody else to help them and there's no other way, the correct position is not to turn around and assist the bully that's beating the shit out of the kid. You're supposed to help the person that's trying to help, but that's not the way it works now, particularly here. You actually have a lot of victim blaming and and this is a real problem. And then on top of that, you have the lines being blurred from people that don't know the difference between fact and opinion. And if you've ever been to Ottawa or an extremely official, hyper-political city in Canada, you'll witness this. And people will be willing to call, oh, well, like, for example, let's say you ordered dinner, okay, at some restaurant. And most places, if you order an orange and then they bring you a banana, well, then you say, I'm sorry, that's not what I ordered. I ordered, the other thing, and you send it back. That's the way it works in the real world normally. This happens in the United States all the time. In Canada, you do this, and in particular cities, they'll actually argue with you, and they'll threaten to call the cops. You're not starting a fight. You're just saying, this is not it. And they're like, oh, yes, it is. And this is the way it is. And this is all there is to it. It's like, no, there isn't all there is to it. You gave me the wrong thing. I'm not paying for the wrong thing. Go and send the right thing out. Oh, well, I don't like your attitude. I don't really give a shit if you like my attitude or not. I don't like your attitude, and I don't like the fact that you're sending me the wrong thing that you're expecting me to pay for. Go and fix it. It ends up being a huge argument because 9 times out of 10, people will just let it go. And this is the very thing that causes behavior to kind of go as it is. And this kind of was a little bit more negative than I intended, but I heard a good quote and I can't remember where I saw it. It was opinions are like assholes, everybody has one. And the problem is everybody kind of takes that attitude with stuff that's factual. So everybody thinks that their opinion is fact, and it's basically just a worldwide case study of the Dunning-Kruger effect. But as much as it looks like a paradox, I would say that the one takeaway is you should do what you love, because there's always going to be no shortage of people that are going to turn around and tell you that you're an idiot, that they're going to turn around and tell you that you don't know what you're doing, and they're going to criticize you, and they're going to say you're a moron and you'll never make it, and blah, 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 and all this stuff. So you may as well live your life and do things the way you want to. There is no point trying to please people whose sole purpose in life is to piss and moan on everything you try to do. And there's no sense in you denying yourself something that you want to do, particularly something to which you have a proclivity and to which there are metrics that demonstratively give you what you want. If you like drawing and people are paying you to draw, fuck what anybody else says about it. If you get paid to draw and you like drawing, well, something's working. Somebody values what you do. If you like doing videos and people are willing to pay for the video work that you do, and somebody or a bunch of people, say you're crap, fuck them and what they think about your videos, because you like doing videos. There are people that see enough value what you do to watch and pay for the work that you do. You like music and everybody says you shouldn't do music, but you're getting paid, here and there to do music. Fuck the people that say that you shouldn't be doing music and you suck and this and that. There's somebody paying for your work, even if it's like $5. Somebody out there is willing to pay for the skills and appreciates what you do. Listen to the metrics. When you are doing math, you do not listen to the 100 people that say 2 + 2 = 5. Particularly when you're building an aircraft and you're an engineer. You listen to what the math tells you. You're rewarded with a correctly functioning device where people don't die. This is the same idea with professional endeavors. If you enjoy making videos and people are watching the videos and are willing to pay for the work and appreciate what you do, even if there's only one person, that means eventually there will be 2 and 3 and 5 and whatever, and you should keep doing it. Same with music. If somebody is paying you for music that you do, even if it's $5 or a $30 gig or whatever, and people are watching it, and there is just so much as one person that appreciates your work and is willing to pay for it, that is a independent metric that proves that there is something that you are doing that is working. So that idiot that said, oh, well, it's unprofessional to turn around and put pictures of your dog and your cat and whatever on your YouTube. Well, fuck you. I love my cat, I love my dog, and I have a successful company and a show on the air with 26 million viewers. And you know what? They like my cat and my dog too. So if you don't like it, you can fuck yourself. So there. And guess what? Obviously, a number of you agree with my sentiment, because it wasn't that long ago, probably not more than a year ago, that maybe I had a couple of hundred subscribers, maybe. Now I've got almost 5,000, So all this to say, you do you, and it's worked for me, and it's not always easy to deal with all the fucking morons that have dumb shit to say and make you feel like crap. But you will find your niche, and if it makes you happy and there's any semblance of anybody that appreciates what you do, you should do it. It's the same with voiceover. It's the same with television. It's the same with And I see this in the voiceover community all the time. It's a supportive community. People are great. As long as there is anybody supporting what you do, then you should keep doing it. So that's my rant, and I know it seems kind of weird to combine that with a thank you, but all of you who have subscribed, I really appreciate it, and I have some really cool content coming up. And as of the fall, we're actually going to start having some Go Nitro segments. They're actually going to start showing up weekly, actually, on YouTube. I actually managed to have some changes to some of our television programming agreements so that I can start to put stuff up on YouTube now. For a while, I couldn't because it had to air on particular television stations only, and I was prohibited from being able to put the show clips online. But now I can. So, you know, that's something to look forward to. And you're also going to see some expanded content for the show, too. So, right, because there's only so much that we can show in a half hour on TV, but I can put a little QR code on the TV screen and say, hey, if you want to see the uncut version of this and what happens next, well, you know, you can check out our YouTube. So this is some of the content that I've got going on, and I'm actually going to have some cool interviews coming up with some of my friends that I work with in various endeavors. Some of the cooler musicians that I work with, voiceover and television producers that I work with, as well as probably some martial arts content too. Because those of you that know me know that I'm into martial arts. So if you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do. It's very much worth it, and obviously there's nearly 5,000 of you that feel that way, and let's hope we can get to 5,000 and grow the channel more. And as always, I really want to hear what you have to say. So if you have an idea for something you want me to talk about, or if there's something that's bothering you, or if there's something that you want to see on Go Nitro, leave me a comment below. You can email me. I can be reached at Corey@skycron.com. As always, Emily can be reached at emily@gonitro.tv. As always, we're very accessible. Don't be shy. I really enjoy reading your emails. I enjoy reading your comments, and I enjoy hearing what you have to say, positive or negative. If I think you're an asshole, I'll either tell you you're an asshole or I won't listen to you. But honestly, most of you have actually been really great, and I enjoy the conversations and the relationships that I've developed with a lot of you through the course of this channel and through Twitter. And I really like the personal touch, and it's been working for me. So, yeah. So anyway, have a good one. Again, last ditch beg for the subscribe, and I hope to do some more of these pretty soon. So you will be seeing me more. You will be seeing me more. So have a good one, and have a great night. Have a great night. Jeez, I haven't even had any wine tonight. Anyway, there we go.